The old radio in Jake's attic crackled to life at exactly 3 a.m. He lived alone. At first, it was just static, but then a voice whispered, "Come closer." Heart pounding, he stepped forward. The dial twisted on its own. A woman's voice, choked with fear, pleaded, "Help me, he's coming." Jake yanked the plug from the wall. The radio kept playing. Then, footsteps creaked behind him.
He spun around.
The attic door slammed shut. The last thing he heard before darkness swallowed him was the voice on the radio, whispering, "Too late." Silence filled the attic. Jake's breath came in short, panicked gasps as he fumbled for his phone. No signal. The radio crackled again. This time, the voice was deeper, rougher. "You shouldn't have listened." A cold hand brushed the back of his neck. Jake whirled around, but there was nothing, just shadows stretching unnaturally in the dim light. The attic air grew thick, heavy, pressing down on him like unseen hands. The radio dial spun wildly. The woman's voice returned, desperate. "Run."
But where?
The door wouldn't budge. The only way out was the small attic window. He scrambled toward it, but before he could reach it, a hand shot out from the darkness, grabbing his ankle. Jake screamed as he was yanked backward, the radio blaring one last message. "He's here." Then, silence. The attic was empty. The radio sat still, dusty and broken. Jake was gone. Years passed. The house remained abandoned, the attic untouched, except for the old radio. No one dared enter. Not after the rumors spread. They said on certain nights, if you listened closely, the static would return. And sometimes, a voice would whisper from the dust-covered speakers. One night, Sam, a thrill-seeker, broke into the house, eager to prove the stories were just urban legends. He climbed the attic stairs, flashlight trembling in his grip. The radio was silent at first. Just an old relic. Then,
click.
It turned on by itself. A voice crackled through. A voice that hadn't been heard in years.
"Help me."
Sam's blood ran cold. He recognized the terror in that voice. Because it was his own. And behind him, something moved. Sam spun around, his flashlight flickering. The attic was empty, at least it looked empty. But the air felt wrong, thick with something unseen. The radio crackled again. His own voice, desperate, echoed back at him. "Help me, he's coming."
No.
That wasn't possible. He had never said those words. Then footsteps. Slow, deliberate, just behind him. He lunged for the attic door, but it wouldn't budge. His own breath turned to mist in the freezing air. The radio dial spun wildly, and a new voice joined in.
Deep. Rough.
Too late. The flashlight flickered once, then went out. Total darkness. Something cold wrapped around Sam's wrist. Not a hand, not exactly. More like fingers that stretched too long, pressing into his skin like ice. The radio screeched, and in the burst of static, he saw it. A shape, shifting in the darkness. Hollow eyes. A grin too wide for any human face. Sam tried to scream, but the sound was swallowed as the attic door slammed shut behind him. The next morning, the house stood silent. The radio sat still, untouched. Sam was gone. But if you dared to listen on the right night, the static would return. And sometimes a voice, his voice, would whisper, "Help me."